What's the difference between the CIA and FBI? CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. These are the two main US agencies that provide national security, but they have different tasks and fields of activity. Guys, today's video will help you understand how these agencies are built, and we'll as well talk about some high-profile investigations which were conducted by these agencies and which were made into movies. You might have even seen some of them. Now, let's start with the primary functions of the CIA: collecting and analyzing foreign intelligence about foreign governments, organizations, and individuals. All information potentially important for national security of the US is gathered by the CIA. What else does it do? It undertakes covert operations abroad to protect the national interests of the USA. Well, officially. Also counterintelligence, detection and preventing activities of foreign agencies on the territory of other countries. What does CIA service tell us about? It works outside the US and doesn't have the right to operate within the United States of America. The main focus is foreign intelligence and international operations. Who does it answer to? The Director of National Intelligence and the US President. To whom does it report? Annually to the United States Congress. The Federal Bureau of Investigation. What functions does it have? Law enforcement. The FBI investigates and prevents federal crimes such as terrorism, cybercrime, corruption, organized crime, and many other serious illegal acts. The FBI identifies and prevents foreign counterintelligence and terrorist activity within the US. The FBI also collects and analyzes information related to national security threats within the country. What power does the FBI have? To begin with, the FBI can only act in the USA, which means its activity is concentrated on insider threats and crimes. Who does the FBI answer to? The FBI is part of the US Department of Justice and is monitored by the Attorney General. To whom does it report? To the United States Congress as well as the CIA. What are the key differences between the CIA and FBI? CIA Foreign Intelligence and International Operations, FBI Internal Security and Law Enforcement inside the US. Jurisdiction: CIA International, FBI Domestic. The CIA answers to the Director of National Intelligence and the President, and FBI answers to the Department of Justice and Attorney General. What are their main tasks? The CIA collects foreign intelligence and conducts covert operations. The FBI deals with federal crimes, monitors counterintelligence, and anti-terrorist activities within the United States of America. Seems like we've figured out what roles the CIA and FBI have. Let's now consider some examples of their activities. One of the most high-profile CIA investigations was Argo Operation. What was it about? During the Iranian Revolution of 1979, 6 American diplomats were sheltered in the Embassy of Canada in Tehran. The CIA and Canadian authorities developed a plan of rescuing the diplomats. They dressed them up as a film crew working on a made-up science fiction film. Result: the operation was a success and diplomats were safely evacuated from Iran. This case was made into the 2012 Oscar-winning film Argo, directed by Ben Affleck. And Ben Affleck himself played the main role. Now you know what to watch on a movie night. The CIA provided the Afghan Mujahideen with financial and military support during the Soviet-Afghan War. The aim was to weaken the Soviet Union, supporting the opposing forces of Afghanistan. What was the outcome? Well, it was doubtful for the USA. Though the operation facilitated the withdrawal of the Soviet military, it also had long-term consequences, including the rise of extremism in the region. Another well-known operation is called Operation Desert Storm 1991. During the Persian Gulf War, the CIA played a crucial role in gathering intelligence on Iraq's military installations and coordinating airstrikes of Allied forces. As a result, the operation led to the liberation of Kuwait and significant weakening of the Iraqi military power. Now let's move to some examples of high-profile FBI investigations. Investigation of the assassination of Martin Luther King, 1968. After the murder of the leader in the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr., the FBI launched a massive investigation to search for and arrest the murderer. As a result, James Earl Ray was arrested in London and extradited to the US, where he confessed of the murder and was sentenced to 99 years of imprisonment. The case of the assassination of John F. Kennedy in 1963. The FBI conducted one of the paramount investigations in the US history in order to investigate the murder of President John F. Kennedy. Official investigation known as the Warren Commission concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald was acting alone. However, there is still numerous conspiracy theories surrounding this case. But we're not talking about theories here, just operations. Next operation, AppScam. The FBI conducted an undercover operation whose purpose was to expose corruption among elected US officials. FBI agents were disguised as representatives of a wealthy Arab sheikh who was offering a bribe to the politicians for various services. Several congressmen, senators, and other officials were eventually arrested for corruption. Investigation of the terrorist attack in Atlanta during the Summer Olympics 1996. The FBI investigated the bombing in Olympic Park in Atlanta, after which 2 people died and more than 100 were injured. At first, security guard Richard Jewell was falsely implicated in the crime. Several years later, the real criminal, Eric Robert Rudolph, was arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment. Special attention should be paid to the investigation of the Watergate case and its results. The FBI was the major agency that investigated an incident at the Watergate Hotel. The investigation was led by Mark Felt, known under the pseudonym Deep Throat, who provided journalists with key information. Major role in the investigation was played by Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, Washington Post reporters. Their work on this matter has shed light on many aspects of this scandal and helped the investigation. Archibald Cox and later Leon Jaworski were appointed to be special prosecutors to conduct the investigation. Cox was in fact fired in the so-called Saturday Night Massacre in 1973, which only increased public attention to this scandal. Special Senate Committee investigating government operations, Irvin's Committee, conducted its own investigation. The committee was formed in 1973 and held public hearings that were broadcast on television and became an important element in uncovering the scandal. What was the result of investigation? President Richard Nixon's resignation. He became the first US president to resign. Nixon resigned on August 8, 1974, to avoid an almost inevitable impeachment. Many officials who had relations with Nixon's administration were arrested, including John Mitchell, Attorney General of the United States, Haldeman, White House Chief of Staff, Assistant to the President for Domestic Affairs John D. Ehrlichman, and several other high-ranking officials who were given a prison sentence. The scandal has led to significant changes in American law, including reforms in the election campaign financing and limitation of presidential power. After that followed stricter regulation of special forces activities and enhanced measures to protect its citizens from unlawful interference by government. This investigation also enhanced the role of journalism as the fourth estate. Woodward and Bernstein's work has become a model for future journalists, demonstrating the importance of investigative journalism. Due to the scandal, public trust in the US government was severely damaged, that led to a more critical public and media perception of actions of the authorities. Let's start with the CIA, the Bay of Pigs invasion. It aimed to overthrow the government of Fidel Castro in Cuba using the forces of Cuban immigrants supported by the CIA. How did this operation end? It was a disastrous defeat. The landed forces were completely destroyed by Cuban troops. The operation's failure led to international condemnation and strengthening of Castro's regime. Iraqi weapons of mass destruction, 2003. What about it? The CIA provided intelligence indicating that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, WMD. It prompted the US to invade Iraq. After the invasion, they discovered that the information about Iraqi WMD was wrong. It damaged the CIA's reputation and resulted in years of conflict and destabilization in the region. CIA's sensational secrecy. In 1975, it was reported that the CIA had conducted illegal activities, including illegal surveillance, been involved in political assassinations and legal operations in the USA. These revelations led to a significant takedown in public trust and became the reason of founding the US Intelligence Committee to control the agency's activity. But what failures did the FBI have? And again, it's an investigation of the terrorist attack in Atlanta in 1996. After the explosion at Atlanta's Olympics, the FBI initially suspected a security guard, Richard Jewell, who appeared to be innocent. This false allegation destroyed the reputation of the agency and caused criticism of the FBI. Extremist files. In 1971, a group of activists broke into an FBI office in Medium, Pennsylvania, and revealed files about illegal spying on citizens and organizations under the program COINTELPRO. This revelation resulted in public outrage, lawsuits, and also reforms in FBI's methods of work and supervision of the agency. Failure in preventing the attacks of 9/11. The FBI and other US intelligence agencies failed to prevent terrorist attacks on the 11th of September 2001, despite having the information about upcoming terrorist attack. This failure resulted in significant changes in structure and functioning of the US Investigation Committee, such as the establishment of the United States Secretary of Homeland Security and closer cooperation between various agencies. And finally, the case of the Russian spy Robert Hanssen. Robert Hanssen was an FBI agent, and over several decades he passed secret information to the Soviet Union and Russia. More than 20 years, the FBI couldn't detect the leak of information. Hanssen was arrested only in 2001. Why did I tell you all this? These examples show that even the most powerful intelligence and law enforcement agencies can face great failures. These mistakes not only lead to operational setbacks, but also can have a long-lasting impact on national security and reputation of agencies. Guys, if you enjoyed this topic, like this video and subscribe. Also visit our website smaps.com, where you'll find all useful information about foreign educational institutions.